Hello and welcome to the Coach Replay Show. I'm excited to share with you just a snippet from a conversation between Corey Camp and Pete Hall, two of my favorite people. So they are talking, and one of the things that I love the most about Pete Hall is his love for teachers and making sure that we're celebrating the successes along the way. He really puts teachers in the front of coaching, and I really appreciate that about his work. Please enjoy this snippet, and if you would like to see the whole episode, you can click on the description. Feel free to subscribe to our notes and takeaways at learn.sibme.com and tune in next week for another Coach Replay Show.
You know, and I look back to Dan Pink's work in the book Drive about the three motivating factors, autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And those are three things that I try to weave into my work with others. Autonomy just being the idea that you get to make choices for yourself. You get to decide, right? And I don't know, you probably remember back in the day, maybe it wasn't that long ago, that we had really scripted curriculum that we had to, you had to basically write out the lesson plan, or in some circumstances, you didn't even get to write a lesson plan because it was already provided to you.
It was already provided for you, print it out and go.
And
right?
there's no thinking going on. There's certainly no reflection happening. It's just follow these steps, check the boxes. So we want to give opportunities for our educators to be in charge of something and make decisions for themselves. Mastery is the idea of actually getting better at something. And if you were to couple that with the idea of autonomy, then getting better at something that you actually want to get better at, you get to actually choose how you grow and what area you're growing in. And then purpose is the third. And I think educators kind of have a built-in purpose. So we work for the future, we work for the society, we work for our communities. It's a bigger notion than just clocking in and clocking out when you get into education. So anytime you're able to weave those three elements, autonomy, mastery, and purpose, into the work that you're doing with others, I think you have a greater likelihood of increasing their motivation and obviously productivity. And in the certain or the current situation we're in, helps folks stay in the profession, because we are losing a lot of educators and we don't have a lot of people coming into the profession. So we need to keep the folks that we have and maximize their impact.
Reflection is this tool that can really, empower our teachers. It can also do this amazing thing to help them be more resilient to whatever kind of comes their way.
In the big scheme of things, a capacity builder is someone who helps to make somebody else better in one way or another. So your driving force is to help someone else with their improvement. So whether it's self-improvement or organizational improvement or improving their impact, that's the driving force. So as a capacity builder, when you're having a conversation with somebody else, the measure of success or effectiveness or the relevance of that conversation is if the other person walks away feeling more empowered, or feeling like they've learned something, or feeling like they're ready to take on the world, or in some ways better and more prepared. So as a capacity builder, as a coach, as an administrator, as a department chair, as a mentor, whatever your actual title or role is, you might just be the teacher across the hallway that could be a capacity builder for a colleague. The big idea is when we go into interactions, we're not trying to achieve some end for ourselves. We're looking at how can I help this person develop skills? How can I help this person increase his or her effectiveness, see things a different way? We only learn by doing if when we're doing what we're doing, we're paying attention to what we're doing and drawing a direct causative relationship between what we did and what we got. So what results occurred directly because of what we did. And when we learn that, then we can shift, we can change, we can adapt in order to improve the outcomes next time. You got on the bus and you're gone. How have you built the capacity of your people to withstand your absence and to thrive even when you're not there? Because, time is short, time is fleeting, our energy and our resources are limited. So we can't be everywhere for everyone all the time. And the question becomes, how can we make sure that we are maximizing the time that we are together so that we are empowering others? We celebrate, the idea of celebration speaks to what we value. We celebrate the things that we value. We celebrate the things that we want to repeat. We celebrate the things that we're trying to accomplish. So when it comes to capacity building, when it comes to celebrations of our teachers, the question becomes, what do we value? The first step is building awareness, which really speaks to the idea of what's your goal, what's your outcome, what are you trying to accomplish here, what do you want to work on, what do you want to learn, what's the thing, right? And most people can tell us what the thing is that they're working on or what they're trying to accomplish. So in this lesson, what were you expecting to see? What was your goal for student output, for instance? And then the second step is to think and act with intentionality. So as a coach, then we ask folks, okay, so what did you do in order to achieve that goal? What steps did you take? How did you decide this strategy? How did you determine the layout of the classroom? How did you determine how you were going to group students? How did you determine the steps in the process? Just going through the thinking of what teachers did on purpose. So we're talking past tense right now. So what was your goal? What steps did you take? And then the third step is, well, what did you notice happened as a direct result of what you did and what you planned? So you made this decision, you took this action. What happened as a result? And we're really trying to be really explicit about the cause and effect between what you did and what happened specifically as a result of that. And in education, we have been really, really good at analyzing data. We have become really good at analyzing data. We have not become really good at analyzing the cause and effect in the data process. So not necessarily what you said, how you said it. We'll say, well, this is what happened. This is how the kids performed. This is the results I got.
Right.
We don't often go back to, well, why exactly did you get those results? Why exactly is this level of performance what it is? How did you teach it that led to that result? So that's where we really want to spend quite a bit of attention, because that shifts, talk about transformational, that shifts thinking immensely when we get to that point. And only then can we say, we go to that fourth quadrant, which is become responsive and adapt. That's where we adapt and adjust and change things. If we want outcomes to be different, we change the thinking and the decisions that we make and the actions that we take. And if we want it to be the same, if we want to repeat that, then we say, okay, we dedicate ourselves to following that same pattern
more consistent
again. And as coaches, that's a very simple way to walk folks through an action that they take to get them comfortable with that reflective cycle, with that process. And eventually we get to the point where we shift the tense of the questions, because folks will say, hey, I got this problem, help me, I have to figure out a plan for this. And we start with, okay, so what's the goal? What are you trying to, what's the problem? What's the challenge? What's that's quadrant one. And then we go, so what could you do? What steps could you take to address this? And you brainstorm together, and maybe you use some of your expertise of what you've seen in other classrooms, and we help fuel that decision-making process. What we typically do then, what has historically happened in education is then we say, okay, go try it, go get them. And we don't take them to that third quadrant yet. And that third quadrant is when we ask folks to think about, okay, so when you do this really well, when this goes spectacularly well in your classroom today, what happens? What do you see? What are you going to notice? What are you going to hear from your kids? And we have teachers engage in a process of visualization so that they know what to look for and listen for in their classrooms. So rather than just go get them, it's go get them and listen for this, watch for this, look and see if this happens, notice these things. So they're focused on something, because you know the rule, you get what you focus on and you'll see what you're looking for, right? So if you're looking for particular outcomes, that's what your actions are all going to drive towards that. Then you come back later and say, okay, so let's talk about it. And then you're having the past tense conversation. So that reflective cycle, which we can make sure that folks have access to a copy of or some version of it in the notes for this session, that can be a really powerful, relatively simple coaching strategy to use. And you can use it with video, you can use it with a lesson that occurred, you can use it with planning something that's upcoming. It's quite versatile.